science is the study of the natural world, attempting to understand how that natural world is. It is not an attempt to determine how that world ought to be. And that's an important distinction, especially when you come into the matter of medicine. Any medical prescription is actually a normative statement. It's stating how things ought to be. Not stating, it does not, medical prescription does not say how, is specifically not saying how things are. Sure, yes, a prescription is based on how things are, or at least how the prescriber believes things are in the natural world of one's body. But the prescription itself is a normative statement saying how things ought to be. You ought to take this medicine, for instance. However, medicine is supposed to be based on science. And science is only deals with studying how things are in the natural world, not how things ought to be. How things ought to be are the realm more of the field of philosophy. It's more my expertise. Now the distinction between normative statements and positivistic factual statements is that with normative statements, you're stating how things ought to be. You're stating that things are more ideal and with one state of affairs versus another state of affairs. Whereas in science, that deals with factual, positivistic statements, such as studying like what is the mass? It's like the W. So who, what, why, where, when. Well, what is the mass? What is the velocity? How fast is something going? And it's a measure of how many molecules are in a given volume of a given substance. It is that how and then you use these different tools to help measure what those positivistic factual judgments are. So statements. So you come to a conclusion. What is the correct factual judgment? There is no such thing as a scientific instrument that measures, it has like a balance, like a scale. There's no such thing in the scientific world that is a scale that measures the risks of a given medicine versus the benefits. There is no such scale that says, oh, look at here. I think the benefits here. Oh, look, that's on the benefits side. It looks like it's heavier on that side than the risk side. So, oh yeah, that scale is showing that the benefits outweigh the risks. That's fantasy. No such thing exists, because that's not how science works. However, in areas such as, say, the COVID-19 vaccine, we seem to be led to believe there is such a thing. At least it's almost implied that way, where everybody within a troika of big medicine, big media, and big government are lining up all along as in one front of like a bunch of soldiers all lined up in one orderly front, pretending as though there was such a scale, such a fantasy scale existed. They're pretending there's not even any risks to the COVID-19 vaccine. And then they're also pretending like as though we should, the statement that we should get the vaccine, they're acting like that is a factual, positivistic statement. about how things are, rather than when in reality it is a normative statement of how things ought to be. They're saying you ought to get the vaccine. You should get the vaccine. And that is a normative statement, not a scientific statement. Science is all about how things are. Science is not about how things ought to be. But the troika of big media, big medicine, big government are acting like it's as though there's some, they're oversimplifying the situation with the COVID-19 vaccine. They're acting like there's no side effects. They are acting like there's only benefits. They're acting like there's no risks. Even though going to the VAERS site has stated there's been numerous deaths reported after taking the vaccine. We're now close to 11,000 deaths just in the U.S. reported from people who have died after taking the vaccine. Now, of course, there's no certainty that there's a causal relationship there, but of course, there's never certainty in medicine about especially when it comes to a disease, about the exact cause of a disease or a death from a disease or whatever the cause is. That's why they use the word etiology when talking about the causal relationships between any given medical condition. They would talk about, instead of just stating, oh, the cause of this condition is XYZ. They say, well, they took, instead, within the field of medicine, they use the word etiology because the causal relationship between any medical condition and what caused it is always both complicated and uncertain. That's what I've been trying to say all along when it comes to the whole COVID-19 thing. There's always uncertainty. It's always complicated. But you're presented in the news as though it's all clear, as though there's no uncertainty, that it's not complicated about the cause of all these any given deaths. They're automatically attributing them to COVID. But yeah, that's the main thing that I wanted to put forward. The main thing I wanted to put forward is that any medical prescription, including a recommendation saying prescription saying you should take the COVID vaccine, that is a normative statement. It's not a scientific statement. And I think the last specific, one of my videos on vaccines has already been removed by YouTube because they claim it went against the CDC's guidelines, and so I'm wondering if this one will be removed also. But I don't know what I have stated goes against what the CDC states. The CDC has never claimed, as far as I know, that any recommendation to get the COVID vaccine is not normative. I'm saying that it is. And I'm stating there's no scientific instrument that measures the risks versus the benefits of any medicine, whether it be a vaccine or any other medicine. It's a judgment call, a normative judgment call, trying to decide what is ideal, what is good for you. And that kind of decision is I would also ask, what is the difference between that kind of judgment and, say, the judgment about what is best for the country on a social political topic, any given topic? Because you can always make a claim that something is that goes against what someone believes is ideal, that is best for society. Somebody can claim that anybody that goes against that is providing misinformation that will be harmful for society. So that, of course, is why we have the First Amendment, requiring freedom of speech. Now, there's no qualification within that First Amendment saying that it only applies to the realm of the public government. The court may not have made handed down judgments on that, on the First Amendment, but of course, those judges, they're fallible. They can make mistakes. But if we go to what was meant, what was intended by the First Amendment, then certainly a case could be made that what is known as social media has become part of the public realm. And also, there's no doubt that there's been a lot of involvement from what's referred to as the government onto those social media giants, especially most recently from statements from the Biden White House and what they implied that could be construed as putting pressure on the social media giants to censor people that are speaking their minds about normative statements about such things as the COVID vaccine, and they're labeling such Biden administration labeling such normative statements that go against their ideology, their narrative. They're calling that misinformation. Of course, that sounds more like it amounts to Orwellian doublespeak from the White House. But yeah, that once we slip over into having the President of the United States dictating what is or is not the correct social political ideology, that is a normative ideology, what is or is not ideal, what is good, what is bad, letting them be the dictators of that, then that amounts to a violation, if not the letter, but at least the intent of the First Amendment of the Constitution. And so that is a big problem. It was the First Amendment. It was in a particular order. It's not in no particular order. That was specifically the First Amendment because that was the most important amendment of the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution, and it needs to be protected in such a manner, acknowledging that priority. So I guess that's all I have to say for now. I thought I'd at least get some video out. It's been a while since I got one out. If you're watching, thanks for watching.